and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So today is Tuesday, and most of us nerdy book lovers know it's release day, right? So happy release day. I want to talk about some new releases that are coming out or came out in November. I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent on talking about new releases. I did miss October, which there were really some good books that came out in October. It just didn't happen. 'Tis the life, right? So, but we're here a little late, but I have some really great books to talk about. The first one I have to talk about, I actually already have because I got it with Book of the Month. Actually, I have a couple of these. So I'll show you what I got with my Book of the Month ones too. We'll do it at the same time. So this is Someday Maybe by Onyam, don't know. Not even gonna pretend. The thing that hooked me into this book, and then I even kind of read a little bit more into it just to make sure it's something that I'm gonna be interested in, was the synopsis. So it says, here are 3 things you should know about my husband. Number 1, he was the great love of my life, despite his penchant for going incommunicado. Sounds like my husband. Number 2, he was, as far as I and everyone else could tell, perfectly happy, which is significant because, number 3, on New Year's Eve, he killed himself. And here's one thing you should know about me. Number 1, I found him. Bonus fact, no, I'm not okay. I thought it was fantastic. So I picked this up from Book of the Month. This one already came out last week. Go get your hands on it. The other one I picked up from Book of the Month is Claire McIntosh's The Last Party. It says at midnight, one of them is dead. By morning, all of them are suspects. I don't know anything else besides that. I want to read more Claire McIntosh since I've read 1 or 2 of hers. So I added this to the box and it came home with me. And then the other one I grabbed from Book of the Month that I didn't really even have any sort of radar on is White Horse by Erica Worth. Cover doesn't really do anything for me, but for some reason I clicked on the synopsis and here we go. It says, some people are haunted in more ways than one. Truth. Heavy metal, ripped jeans, Stephen King novels, and the occasional beer at the White Horse has defined urban Indian Carrie James's life so far. But when her cousin Debbie finds an old family bracelet that once belonged to Carrie's mother, it inadvertently calls up both her mother's ghost and a monstrous entity. And Carrie's willful ignorance about her past is no longer sustainable. That's what caught me. Give me some ghosts. Give me some creepy stuff. I'm in for it. So I picked that up too. All right, a couple other books that came out last week on the 1st. We have The Brilliance of Stars by Janelle Sizleski. The German in me should know how to say that name, but I don't. So it says, amid the chaos of the Great War, 2 master assassins risk it all for love. So I like it that we're looking at World War I, not necessarily World War II. So we have 1914, Washington, D.C. Ivy knows how to survive on the streets without 2 coins to rub together. But when destiny thrusts her into the nest of a covert agency of assassins, sworn to drive back the world's darkness, she acquires a new set of lethal skills. Go, Ivy. Her education, from explosives to etiquette, sharpshooting to sabotage, is as far-reaching as the organization's missions. But it's the hours she spends among the towering bookshelves in the library and stargazing on the roof with Agent Jack Vale that make her heart fly. You just had like all my buzzwords. So that one's on the list. Loving it. Next one I have is Gilded Mountain by Kate Manning. Also came out last week. So we have, let's see, a young heroine in a sweeping historic novel set in Moonstone, Colorado in 1907. In a voice full of questions and sly humor, give me humor, Sylvie recounts the story of leaving her family's snowbound mountain cabin to work in the local manor house for the Pagets. They are the owners of the marble mining company that employs her father and dominates the town. Okay. Sharp-eyed Sylvie is awed by the luxury around her, fascinated by her employer, the charming Countess, and confused by the erratic affections of Jasper, the bookish heir to the family fortune. When he learns that a European king will soon arrive for a hunting party, her fairy tale ideas of glamour and romance take a dark turn as she realizes that the Pagets, the family she's working for, their lofty philosophical talk is at odds with the unfair labor practices that have enriched them. Their servants, the Gaddies, Descendants of formerly enslaved people have long known this to be true and are making plans to form a utopian community on the Colorado prairie. What's she gonna do? Is it gonna work? There's labor, I think there's a strike involved. I'm here for it. So let's do it. All right, last one that came out last week is Before You Knew My Name by Jacqueline Bolbitz. It says it's not just another novel about a dead girl. Two women, one alive, one dead, are brought together in the dark underbelly of New York to solve a tragic murder. Ghosty? I hope so. When she arrived in New York on her 18th birthday carrying nothing but $600 in cash and a stolen camera, Alice was looking for a fresh start. Now, just a month later, she's the city's latest Jane Doe. She may be dead, but that doesn't mean her story is over. Meanwhile, we have Ruby. Also trying to reinvent herself after traveling halfway around the world. She's lonelier than ever in the Big Apple until she stumbles upon a woman's body by the Hudson River and suddenly feels herself unbreakably tied to the unknown dead woman. Alice is sure Ruby is the key to solving the mystery of her short life and tragic death. Ruby just wants to forget about what she saw. Don't blame you, Ruby. But she can't seem to stop thinking about the young woman she found. If she keeps looking, can she give the unidentified Jane Doe the ending and closure she deserves? That pulled me in. Okay, November 15th. So I don't have anything for today. So if you know of any good books that are being released today, let me know below. We gotta talk about it. But next week, let's talk about next week. We have The Lindbergh Nanny by Mariah Fredericks. Super excited for this one too. So we have Betty is known by another name. She's known by the Lindbergh Nanny. When toddler Charles Lindbergh Jr. is kidnapped from her parents' weekend home in New Jersey in 1932, his parents are frantic, his grandmother devastated, and the media rabid. Betty, named a suspect herself, of course she is determined to find out who took him. Charles Lindbergh is already famous for the flight across the Atlantic, the golden boy of America, with his wealthy and lovely wife Anne beside him. But when Betty joined the household to look after little Charlie, a Scottish immigrant deciphering the rules for her new homeland and its East Coast elite, Betty finds Colonel Lindbergh, so the father, eccentric and often odd. Sounds right. Mrs. Lindbergh, kind yet nervous, and Charlie, simply a darling. Far from home and bruised with a love affair gone horribly wrong, Betty finds comfort in caring for the child and warms to the attentions of handsome sailor Henrik, sometimes known as Red. But when Charlie's taken from the family home at a time when no one but a handful of Lindbergh servants could have known he was there, everything changes. A suspect in the eyes of both the media and public herself, Betty must find the truth in order to clear her name and to find justice for the child she loves. Sounds heart-wrenching, but I'm here for it. So the next one I want to talk about is Defending Alice by Richard Stratton. This comes out November 22nd. So it's set in the 1920s in New York. We have Alice Jones. She's a blue-collar woman with at least one black parent. She marries Leonard Kip Rhinelander, the son of one of New York's most prominent society families. The scandal rocks high society. Of course it would. And eventually sets the city afire when Kip later sues for an annulment, accusing Alice of having hidden her Negro blood and intentionally deceiving him that she was white. And I'm here for that. That's all I had to read. All right, next one I want to talk about comes out November 29th. This is The Undiscovered Deaths of Grace McGill by C.S. Robertson. And I was on the fence with this one because there isn't much to go off of. So I'm kind of at a loss as to what this all is. But I'm intrigued. So it says, when people die alone and undiscovered, it's her job. I don't know who her is. Oh, must be Grace McGill. Death is not the end for Grace McGill, it's only the beginning. So when people die alone, undiscovered, it's her job to clean up what's left behind, whether it's clutter, bodily remains, or dark secrets. So she is kind of so the body is gone, but she goes into the house and cleans up the rest of the house. So when an old man lies undetected in his flat for months, it seems an unremarkable life and an unnoticed death, but Grace knows that everyone has a story and that all deaths mean something more. I think she almost goes through things and tries to get keepsakes back to family. I'm very confused by this book. So if anyone else has heard about it, or you tell me more. Like, I'm intrigued by the small amount of information that I have on it. Does that make sense? I don't even know. Anyways, those are the books I'm excited for that either have came out in November or are coming out in November. So if there's anything from this list that you've already read, let me know below. Let's chat about it. Or if there's something missing from this list that you think that I need on my radar, please tell me, please. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.